Hello! Hello and welcome to Sin.PC, where right now is 17:12 in the evening. As we've been establishing, is a perfectly relevant time of describing the day now, isn't it? So, we're here rolling around in the pre-evening. I've been in school for about, give or take, a good 6 to 7 hours, because that's just amazing now, isn't it? Isn't the best feeling when you feel like you haven't done something the entire day? That's not the best feeling in the world. Not when you've saved someone, not when you've helped someone, not when you've done anything remotely productive, but when you've been at a place where you're supposed to do all of those things and you've just sitting there with books open and computers open and you've been telling people you're reading stuff, and when people asking you, really, what are you reading about? You're just complaining about how much you have to study for and that all the deadlines are coming closer and closer to you, but you don't really do anything about it. Now, isn't that just the best feeling ever? No, I've actually had a rather productive day, I'd say. It was nice. We worked through a lot of different things, so I'm kind of happy actually, and kind of all over the moon for this entire thing. All simultaneously, I was hurting my knees still. It's kind of irritating me, and now it's been moving towards both of them, so now both of the knees are hurting. I know, 10 out of 10, best thing ever, right? Can't even be out walking. I'm forced to actually be at home and play video games. I know, I'm living the hard life, haven't I? All simultaneously as I was hungry half of the day with a pizza in the fridge, but unfortunately that pizza was at home and I wasn't at home. Now, isn't that just the biggest struggle in the world? When you know you want something and you know you have that something, but you also know that that something just isn't where you are. That's the biggest struggle in the world. But that's not what we're here to talk about. And what are we here to talk about? Well, that is actually a rather abstract concept as of today. And most of you will probably say, like, what, an abstract concept? Talking about an abstract concept on this show. What can that actually mean? What can that really mean? Is that really deviating that much from our usual approach? And well, no, it actually kind of doesn't. As of lately, we have been talking about most different things that doesn't really have any clear connection with each other. But what I am going to talk about today is something that we did yesterday, first of all, and then I'm going to move into a different thing, a story that I kind of maybe said I was going to say, but I don't know how much of a story it really is. It's just an interesting phenomenon that I've observed. However, yesterday I was producing a video, and I will just begin with saying sorry. I'm so sorry for all of you who had to watch that piece. Believe me, I was debating, as I was arguing yesterday as well, if I would publish that video or not, because I saw it and I just realized that, wow, this isn't good at all. This is probably one of the worst videos I have done, well, ever since Christmas, or ever since the 150th video. Why? Well, because we were basically moving backwards in audio quality for no apparent reason that day. Now, of course, the entire idea was that I was going to test how I was going to operate when I go abroad, or if I go to another apartment. What if I don't have my microphone with me? How am I going to sustain my approach? And as I said, I didn't really know how. And so I was trying and testing out a few different things. One of the things I was trying that I thought was the obvious solution, right? Because it required the minimum amount of, well, what you would say, prep time, and minimum amount of, well, carry on if I was going to travel anywhere, was the DSLR's audio in and within itself. Now, was that any good? Maybe. Depending on the volume that I spoke, it kind of actually worked. It took up some background noise, sure, but that was to be expected. But it kind of worked when I was talking in a rather low register and a rather low tone. And I didn't actually push my entertaining value that much, or at least I'm seeing it as an entertaining value. Most of you probably say like, ha, entertainment, mate, that sucked. But I thought that, it kind of works. But then I thought, well, I ain't gonna stay like this forever. I want to be a bit more natural about it, right? I don't want to hold back when I'm standing in front of a camera. So let's push it all on and see how it works. And I kind of knew already how it was gonna work, because I always have to adjust the audio from the DSLR when I'm comparing it, contrasting it, and reconnecting it to the audio from the microphone in post-editing, right? Or in the editorial process. So I kind of knew the results already, but I thought to myself, you know what, let's try it out with this kept in mind. Turns out it was shit, yeah, it was the worst thing ever. It was so loud, it just broke through the what should we say, the noise roof all the goddamn time. It was not a single thing that I said that probably didn't sound as something like, hey, which was vastly irritating when that wasn't the intention, yeah? So that was rather shit. But moving into the third thing that I actually tried out was using my phone as a recording device. Not the best thing, apparently, it turns out. I thought that was going to be a clear winner. I thought, you know, audio from the phone is made to record things, you know, it's made for recording video and stuff like that, and obviously then also recording audio. It turns out it was really, really bad. Now, I had it in interview mode, so it could have been the case that it was trying to, I don't know, reconnect with sounds that were closer to it than me. When I was laying it when I was laying it at the table and walking away, maybe it thought, you know, let's exclude this noise from the interview or something along those lines. But I didn't know that at the time, so I was producing it, and then in the post-editorial process, I was just like, this sucked. This was the worst thing ever. So I came up with, well, I can actually use a microphone that I had, because I have an Nexus microphone that I bought like, what, 1 or 2 years ago, which also introduced a new funny dynamic with me, you know, walking around with a microphone, because sure, that is a bit different of how I'm doing it. You know, in general, when I'm doing this, for instance, it's a different dynamic actually having and holding the microphone in your hand. So it was kind of interesting, which turns out to work, well, not as good as I expected actually, but still a lot better than the other alternatives. So I can say that the future of this channel, if I have to go away from this microphone, given that I continue with this and actually still have ideas, is kind of solid. It's set, it's done, it's based, it's structured, it's planned for, yeah? I have a contingency plan. So that was all of the video yesterday, and yes, as I said in the beginning, sorry if you had to endure that. That wasn't the best video by any means, and I think that I stated that a couple of times as well during the video. It was kind of crap. So even though I know that this isn't going to help that much, I thought, you know, I might as well make some kind of response, at least for my own sake, right? When I'm watching it in retrospect, I can go to this video and I can see, oh, at least I commented about it, right? Now I feel a bit better, because that was not the proudest place, yeah, not the proudest moment of me videos, of all the videos if you compile them. But now we're going to talk about the second thing, the thing that I actually wanted to talk about yesterday, because it happened yesterday, but that I didn't come across and that I didn't come around to actually talk about. Why? Because the audio was kind of crap. If you didn't notice, I kind of took that as a test video, and I thought, you know, having a perfectly good master of discussion and wasted, so to say, quote unquote wasted, on a video with not that good of an audio, it's probably not the best thing in the world. So I thought, why not save it for today? So the entire thing that I'm going to talk about is that yesterday I went to the dentist. And I know that most of you are going to be like, wow, is this going to be a dentist story? And both yes and no. Not necessarily a dentist story in isolation, but it's kind of going to be a dentist story, yeah? It's going to be some connection here. And before you tune out because you're afraid of dentists, I'm not going to talk about actually being in the dentist room. No, the thing that I acknowledged and the thing that I observed and I thought about was that when I was a kid, yeah, I was waking up early because I had to go to the dentist, and I was tired when I got there, and I didn't know what to do, and well, there were all these different things that involved and influenced me when I was there that I didn't really think about when I was younger. And you know, I recognize I'm still a kid, at least in my own opinion. Yeah, it's all about the matter of perception and imagination, and I'm still a kid. But when I was an even smaller kid and I was even younger, we're talking like 6-7 years old, I had the same experience then as I did now, which was hilarious in a way, yeah? And it was kind of amazing and baffling in another, because I thought I made all of this progress in my life, yeah? And all people have. When we grow up, we make progress, right? We grow up, we endure different problems, we encounter different problems, we solve these different problems, we take that to heart, we move on, we become better people, right? Hopefully we become better people. Some might become worse, but at least we're growing in some way, no matter how we're growing. But we're developing to be new people, and we grow up and all of those things. It was really interesting for me going back to a dentist office, of which I didn't go to when I was younger, and just have this exact same perception of going to the dentist. I was there early in the morning. I was there at like, oh, well, early. I was there around 10 past 8, something like that in the morning. I went in, I was tired. I felt like, wow, I really don't want to do this. This isn't the funniest thing in the world, right? There are things that I rather would like to do, even though I recognized that it was something that I needed to do. I didn't really want to do it, and so on and so forth. But you should go to the dentist. Kids, it's important. And I was sitting there and I was just looking around at all the different toys and stuff that they put out in order to, drown the fear of children, right? For actually going to the dentist. Not that that should be connected with my previous statement of actually going there. You should, but let's get honest here, right? Most people probably don't think it's their favorite activity in the world, right? But I was going there and I was just feeling the same sensation that, wow, this is exactly how I felt when I was an even smaller kid, which was really interesting to me and really baffling, because I've been hearing people saying that all my life. People are saying like, oh, that's exactly how I felt, or when I go to these kinds of things, I feel exactly like I did when I was little. And maybe it's because I'm lacking the years, so to say, to actually put things into perspective and put things into context and feel this nostalgia in a way. But I've never felt the sensation of feeling like nothing has changed since 15, 20 years ago. I'm feeling exactly the same feelings in the exact same way, relating to me and the place in the exact same way as I did then, which was kind of interesting. It felt like I was part of a capsule, a time capsule that someone has dig down in the ground and put all of these old things that were current at the time, and someone else has digged up, and it looks exactly the same as it did 15 years ago. That's kind of my feelings. We're kind of a time capsule of feelings based on the situation that I was in, and I was just like, wow, do other people actually feel this or feel this way? Which people have told me that they've done, but I haven't just been able to relate to this. So it was kind of an amazing experience, even though that most people of you are going to be like, well, don't care, mate. So what I'm taking up, or what I'm trying to come to the conclusion, is that apparently I've looked into this, and there are these different places that trigger something in the brain that I don't remember what it was called, but it's kind of a sequence, yeah, as you remember it in the same way as you did it when you were little. Something that has been standing on the side of, not evolution of course, but standing on the side of your personal development. So when that is triggered, you're the same person as you were then. Not the same person in the sense that I will not remember how to say, I will not remember how to speak English. That's not something that I'm going to forget when this is triggered, but just the same behavior is triggered because there was no actual punishment back then, or at least this was the argument I saw for it, right? That you felt in a certain way 15 years ago. There were no punishment for that, no direct punishment that can be correlated to you sitting in the waiting room. Therefore, that hasn't actually been changed in the 15 years that you've been growing up. It's just that your perception of going there has changed. But when you're in the same mindset, I was a bit, I knew what I was in for, but I wasn't that happy about it, going that time, because it was a follow-up appointment, so I was a bit stressed. Equally as stressed, or similarly as stressed as I had been when I was little. And this same sequence of feelings and perception just triggered, and I thought that was kind of amazing and it was kind of cool. So I wonder, is this happening to other people in other places, and what places could this be? Because I thought it was an interesting phenomenon that I would be interested to look into further, and I would probably be stopped by the barrier of knowledge, so to say. That would be the barrier of entry into this field, of actually looking into it and get an understanding of what's actually happening. But it would be interesting to go in and look and see what's actually happening in the brain when you are acknowledging this effect, so to say. When this effect is actually happening, what does that actually tell you about what's happening in the brain? Something that I'm really intrigued of, and that was really cool. Anyway, I'm rambling on. This was mostly, today was mostly about me just taking the pressure off and saying that, well, hello, microphone, you're back. We're not at where we were yesterday because we are developing, We're not the same as we were 24 hours ago. Even though that video is still up, so you can probably go and check that out anyway. But what I'm saying is that, we have developed on this show, and this is kind of the thing that shows that, the visual representation of the better quality picture and the audio reference. Anyway, mates, that was everything for today. I'm gonna leave you from my rambly thoughts and move on, and let you all move on. But before I do that, I will leave you with this, as always, as we've been doing the previous week. Rather having sunglasses out when it's sunny, Then swimming in the Arctic with them on. Yeah, think about that for a while. That's a deep one, yeah? Probably not something that you realize the first time you hear it. And probably that's the same for me. Have a nice one, mates, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.